Glass of Retribution. I was reborn at the exact moment I picked up the wrong glass, the one meant for my boss, Dominic Reed, laced with an aphrodisiac drug. This time I didn't take the wrong glass. I watched him drink it down, then dial the woman he truly loved, Celeste. In my past life, I was Dominic's secretary, and I fell in love with him. When the drug hit my system, I didn't care that he needed to get to Celeste. I grabbed his belt and made him stay. Not long after, I found out I was pregnant. Dominic was forced to marry me. But on the day I went into labor with complications, he got the news Celeste had thrown herself off a building, destroyed by grief. He stormed into the delivery room and sent the doctors away. Then he watched me die. The last thing I heard was his voice. If you hadn't gotten pregnant, I never would have been forced to marry you. Celeste wouldn't have killed herself. You deserve this. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the day I drank that drugged wine. Iris, call Celeste right now. Hearing that familiar command again, I jolted awake. I'd been reborn. Without hesitation, I grabbed my phone and dialed Celeste's number. Dominic's face was flushed, his eyes burning with desire. The drug was kicking in. In my past life, I was the one who drank from that glass. I was the one who lost control, and it led to my death. This time, I watched coldly as he downed the entire glass. As the drug began to take hold, and he looked at me with struggling, hazy eyes, I quickly finished dialing Celeste. Dominic, just hang on. Celeste will be here in 10 minutes. The moment I closed the door behind me, I thought I heard him call my name, but I pretended not to hear. I shut the door firmly and waited at the end of the hallway. 10 minutes later, Celeste arrived in a rush. She looked at me with a complicated expression. When she saw that my clothes were intact and I was perfectly composed, relief washed over her face. Before pushing open the door, she glanced at me. You can leave now. I don't need you here. I turned and took the elevator down, called a car, and went back to my apartment. The next morning, Celeste appeared in the executive office. Dominic lifted his coffee, took a sip, then casually announced to the core management team. From now on, Celeste is my fiancée. She's also an important future partner for the company. You will all treat her with respect. Then he looked directly at me, pointing with his pen. Especially you, Iris. I nodded blankly. Celeste smirked, flashing me a triumphant smile. I pretended not to notice. I gathered the meeting notes and started to leave the office. But just as I stood up, I heard Celeste's voice, soft and wounded. Dominic, does Iris not want me involved in company affairs? I know how important she is to you. If she's unhappy with me being here, maybe I shouldn't come to the office anymore. Her eyes glistened with tears. She looked as pitiful as possible. Dominic frowned. Before he could say anything, I replied, of course not. But if you're not satisfied with me, I'll make sure to stay out of your sight from now on. Without waiting for Dominic's reaction, I walked straight back to my office. Half an hour later, my office door swung open, and there he was, Dominic, staring at me with dark, stormy eyes. Instinctively, I wanted to close the door. I didn't want to deal with him, but Dominic blocked it with his arm, frowning as he looked at me. Are you avoiding me? Why? He leaned in closer, studying my face. Are you upset? Because of Celeste. I quickly shook my head. No. I'm happy for you. You and Celeste finally get to be together. His eyes flickered with something unreadable. He seemed dissatisfied with my answer. Is that the truth? Or are you just being passive-aggressive? Then he scoffed. Iris, don't tell me you still haven't gotten over me. 3 years ago at the company party, you kissed me when you were drunk. You think I didn't notice? All these years, those little hints you tucked into your reports, that encrypted folder on your computer, the personal journal, I've read all of it. You thought you were hiding it so well, but the way you look at me, everyone in this company can see you're in love with me. The smartest thing you ever did was never confess, because if you had, I would have laughed in your face, laughed at how pathetic and delusional you are. He chuckled to himself, then walked over to my desk and yanked open the bottom drawer. He grabbed a thick stack of printed journal pages and scattered them across the floor, stepping on them. Iris, I handpicked you fresh out of college. I trained you. I gave you everything. And this is how you repay me? You knew I only loved Celeste, but you still wrote all this, feelings you had no right to have. Do you know how embarrassing this is? For both of us. He leaned down close to my ear, his voice low. I came here to tell you something. Yesterday, when I drank that wine, I saw the look in your eyes. You wanted to be the one to help me, didn't you? Thank God you didn't. Because if you had, I would have been disgusted for the rest of my life. You're not worth it. My heart clenched painfully. Even though I decided not to love him in this life, hearing those cruel words still hurt. After warning me to stay away from him and not make Celeste uncomfortable, Dominic slammed the door and left. I didn't want to be in their way anymore. I had to go out and finalize my transfer paperwork anyway, so I packed up and left. That night, I deliberately waited until almost 10 p.m. to return to the office to pick up some things. The moment I stepped into my office, I noticed something was wrong. My custom ergonomic chair is gone. Then I saw it. Celeste had posted on social media a selfie of herself sitting in a luxurious office chair. The caption read, I just mentioned my back was sore, and he immediately gave me the best chair in the whole company. This is why it's so important to find a man with power, money, and thoughtfulness. She'd taken the chair Dominic had custom ordered for me. Earlier this year, when my back injury flared up, Dominic had specially approved a budget of over $20,000 for a chair designed for long hours at a desk because I was his chief secretary. He used to be so good to me. He knew what it meant to show that kind of special attention to a female subordinate. And yet, he let me fall for him. But now, from his position of power, he was telling me I had no right to love him. And now, Celeste made one offhand comment, and Dominic didn't even bother telling me before he had my chair taken away. Hearing me return, Dominic stood in my doorway and said coolly, Celeste's back problems. I gave her your chair. Your injury's healed anyway. Any chair will do for you now. I didn't even look up. I murmured. Dominic's frown deepened. He stared at me intently. Iris, didn't you used to hate it when I was nice to other people? Why aren't you throwing a tantrum now? Are you plotting something? I'm warning you, if you dare do anything to Celeste, I'll make sure you never work in this industry again. I finally looked up. I'm not trying to do anything to anyone. I just want to be left alone. And isn't this what you always wanted? For me to be more professional? You should be happy. Dominic pressed his lips together. Then, almost like a sulking child, he repeated, fine. Iris, you're just great. He slammed the door on his way back to his office. Whenever he said things like that, it meant he was angry. But I wasn't going to comfort him anymore. Whether he was angry or not didn't matter, because soon I'd be gone. The next few weeks passed simply. Celeste came to the office every day to flaunt their relationship. Dominic was still sulking. And this time, I wasn't going to be the one to fix it. A month later, Celeste announced she was pregnant. Dominic was over the moon. He wanted to tell the whole world. The wedding was moved up immediately. Everyone in the company was gossiping about the upcoming ceremony. In this life, the one who got pregnant was the woman he actually loved. And I decided to let them have it. As soon as my transfer paperwork was finalized, I booked a flight to Italy scheduled for the same day as their wedding. Dominic finally broke and came to find me. He waited until Celeste wasn't at the office, then pushed open my door. He pulled out his phone, opened an email from HR, and shoved it in my face. You applied for an overseas transfer? What? You're so devastated by my wedding that you're running away. My heart skipped, but his next words eased my tension a little. When I didn't answer, his tone turned cold. Iris, are you done with this tantrum? Ever since Celeste started coming to the office, you've been avoiding me. But I'm going to marry her eventually. So, what? You're planning to keep avoiding me even after the wedding? I shook my head. Dominic, I think you misunderstand. I only see you as the boss who mentored me. I'm grateful. That's all. He laughed, like I just told the funniest joke. Grateful? Iris, everyone in this company knows you're hopelessly in love with me. Who's going to believe you're just grateful? Do you even believe that yourself? He glanced at the bookshelf in my office and smirked. All these gifts I gave you over the years, you kept them so carefully. And you're telling me you don't love me? He walked over and picked up the items one by one. A limited edition pen, a brooch, a watch. Then he said seriously, you should put all this stuff away. I'm about to marry Celeste. You need to stop holding on to these ridiculous fantasies. We're just boss and employee. I will never love you. And Celeste is pregnant now. If she sees these things, it might upset her. I can't have anything happen to my fiancé or my son. I said and immediately started packing everything into a cardboard box. I was planning to get rid of it all before leaving the country anyway. Might as well do it now. Seeing how calm I was, Dominic frowned and grabbed my wrist. Iris, can't you be more careful? Look, you bent the nib on this pen. I glanced at the luxury pen in his hand. It was the first gift he ever gave me the day I passed my probation and officially became his secretary. For years, I treasured it. I wouldn't let anyone else even touch it. But now, I just tossed it carelessly into a box. And Dominic couldn't stand it. Iris, you're clearly devastated about marrying Celeste. You're running away. But now you're pretending you don't love me anymore? He exhaled sharply. Fine. Maybe it's good for you to cool off overseas. Celeste is in a delicate stage of her pregnancy. It's better if you're not around anyway. Dominic pulled out his phone and transferred $10,000 to me. Take this. Get yourself settled in Italy. After work, travel around a bit. Take a month to clear your head. By then, Celeste's pregnancy will be stable. He looked at me meaningfully. Adjust your mindset while you're abroad. Don't miss me too much. I'm going to be a married man. You need to get used to it. Otherwise, working together later is going to be awkward. Dominic gave me a few more instructions about the overseas assignment, but he didn't know I'd been reborn. And this time I was really leaving. On Dominic's wedding day, both the hotel and the company headquarters were bustling early in the morning. While everyone was focused on the ceremony, I quietly grabbed my suitcase, got in a cab, and headed straight to the airport. Dominic had changed into his wedding suit, but he didn't leave with the groomsmen to pick up the bride. For some reason, he found himself walking to Iris's office. He wanted to see her one last time. But when he got there, the office was empty. All her personal belongings were gone. The only thing left on her desk was a standard resignation handover checklist. His heart skipped a beat. He assumed she must have gone to the wedding venue early to help with preparations. That thought calmed him down enough to go pick up Celeste. He was beyond excited today. He was finally marrying the love of his life. And soon, they have a child together. Just thinking about it made him smile uncontrollably. The moment he saw Celeste, he couldn't look away. She looked breathtaking in her white wedding gown. This was the woman he'd been in love with for years. But he wasn't the only one staring. There was another man, Celeste's close friend. Dominic didn't see him as a threat. The guy was good-looking and charming, sure. But other than that, completely mediocre. He made a point of kissing Celeste in front of the man before carrying her to the wedding car. The ceremony began. But Dominic still didn't see Iris anywhere. He understood. She couldn't bear to watch him marry someone else. That's why she didn't show up. The day after the wedding, he took Celeste on their honeymoon. He completely forgot about Iris. It wasn't until 2 weeks later, when he returned to the office, that he noticed she still wasn't there. He finally called his assistant to ask about her. That's when he found out she'd flown to Italy on his wedding day. He vaguely remembered approving her transfer. He'd even sent her $10,000 to help her settle in. He figured she must have started at the overseas branch by now. He made a mental note to remind her not to be so obvious about her feelings. Celeste was pregnant and emotionally sensitive. He couldn't let anyone upset her, not even Iris. A month later, during the overseas branch's monthly report, Iris didn't join the video meeting. Another month passed. She still didn't appear in any international conference calls. Dominic started to feel uneasy. He finally tried calling her, but her number had been disconnected. That's when it hit him. She'd really left, and she hadn't even said goodbye. She'd changed her number, so he couldn't reach her. Dominic felt a strange discomfort in his chest. She'd actually let him go. She'd walked away without a word. But then he reminded himself she probably left because he got married and was having a baby. She had no choice. Besides, he'd married the woman of his dreams. Whether Iris came back or not didn't matter anymore. It was better this way. He could finally have some peace. A few months later, Celeste's due date arrived. Dominic canceled all his business trips and stayed by her side at the hospital's VIP suite, day and night. On the day she went into labor, he paced anxiously outside the delivery room. They say childbirth is dangerous. But there was nothing he could do except wait and pray for her and the baby to be safe. There was another man in the waiting area, just as restless Adrian Lane, Celeste's close friend, an artist who ran a small gallery. Dominic frowned in irritation. Adrian always seemed to show up at the most important moments. He'd never taken Adrian seriously. Sure, they'd known each other for years. But Celeste wasn't the kind of woman who could survive on emotional connection alone. She was a renowned designer. Maintaining her polished image and social status required serious money. Celeste had her own design studio. She admired strength and success. That's why Dominic waited years before confessing his feelings until he brought his company to the top of the industry. Adrian might be a childhood friend, but Celeste would never fall for some dreamy artist with a mediocre career. Dominic was confident of that. So he tolerated Adrian's presence in their lives. An hour later, the delivery room door opened. A nurse came out holding his and Celeste's son. He already knew the baby's gender. They'd gone to a private clinic months ago. So when the nurse said it was a boy, he didn't feel as excited as he expected. But Adrian did. He was so emotional, he actually cried. When Celeste was wheeled out, Dominic stood on the left side of her bed. Adrian stood on the right. Dominic didn't feel like competing with some struggling artist. But what bothered him was this. When Celeste woke from the anesthesia, the first person she looked at was Adrian. Dominic's expression darkened. Thankfully, Adrian had the sense not to follow them into the room. That eased his mood slightly. Still, he couldn't help but mutter to Celeste. He acted more excited than I did. And I'm the actual father. Celeste's face tightened, but she quickly snapped back. Don't be ridiculous. He's my best friend. We've known each other since kindergarten. He's just happy for me. Dominic didn't respond. Every time he brought this up, she gave him the same explanation. And if he pushed further, she'd throw Iris in his face. Thinking of Iris made his chest tighten. His secretary of so many years, how long had it been since he'd heard from her? Did she really not miss him at all? Was she really planning to disappear from his life completely? He drifted into memories of their years working together. She was always the first one in the office. She remembered all his habits. When he got drunk, she'd quietly prepare hangover medicine. When he worked late into the night, she'd leave a blanket in the lounge. Dominic. Celeste's voice, sharp and hurt, pulled him back. She was glaring at him, her eyes red, her chest rising and falling with anger. Dominic, what woman are you thinking about? It's Iris again, isn't it? Dominic didn't want to upset her on the day she'd just given birth. He didn't want her to develop complications. So he quickly denied it. Why would I be thinking about that secretary who left without saying a word? I was just thinking about what kind of gift should give my son to celebrate his birth. But even as he said it, his thoughts circled back to Iris. He felt a sudden, irrational urge to fly to Italy and find her. Hearing his answer, Celeste's face softened into a smile. Dominic, you promised me $500,000 for a girl, $1 million for a boy. Time to pay up. Dominic froze. He'd almost forgotten. When Celeste first got pregnant, she'd sweet-talked him into making that promise. Suddenly, he felt uncomfortable. Over the past 2 years, he'd already spent a fortune on her investing in her studio, buying a luxury penthouse downtown, purchasing limited edition jewelry. When she got pregnant, she'd playfully asked for a birth reward, claiming that wealthy wives always received huge payments from their husbands after giving birth. So, caught up in the excitement, Dominic had said, $500,000 for a girl, $1 million for a boy. But he never imagined she'd actually ask for it the moment she gave birth lying in a hospital bed, no less. He could give her mansions, luxury cars, and auction house jewelry. But he didn't like giving her large sums of cash. Because more than once, he discovered that Celeste had been secretly using his money to support Adrian. And the amounts kept getting bigger. He'd had his assistant investigate. The money she sent was never paid back. At first, he thought her loyalty to her friend made her better than those women who only wanted his money for themselves. But now, it left a bitter taste in his mouth. Still, after only a brief hesitation, he transferred the $1 million. Celeste had given him a son, an heir. She deserved to be rewarded. From her hospital bed, Celeste smiled with satisfaction. Dominic, I knew you'd be good to me. I promise. Our son, and I will love you forever. Dominic, look, I think he's smiling at you. Look at his eyes, his features. He looks so much like you. Dominic looked at his son in the incubator and smiled with pride. But as he studied the baby's face more closely, something felt off. The more he looked, the less the baby resembled him. This time, after transferring the money, he asked his private financial advisor to track Celeste's transactions. And what he found shocked him. The moment he'd sent her the money, she transferred every cent to an overseas account belonging to Adrian Lane's gallery. What shocked him even more was the news his financial advisor brought him, news that left him completely devastated. Celeste and Adrian's relationship went far beyond childhood friends. They'd been intimately involved all along, and the paternity test showed the child wasn't his at all. Dominic covered his face and laughed bitterly. He could barely stand. So the woman he loved for years never loved him back. She'd only used him for his money and resources. She'd used his wealth to support her lover and their child. Celeste was no different from all those scheming women he'd encountered in business. In fact, her methods were even more sophisticated. There was no such thing as a woman who truly loved him. They were all just playing a part. Dominic's heart felt like it had been pierced through with a blade. He couldn't breathe. Suddenly, he thought of Iris, the girl who'd followed him since graduation, the girl who only had eyes for him. He laughed bitterly. Then the laugh grew louder, laughing at his own stupidity, at this absurd truth. There had been someone who truly loved him. Someone who wanted nothing from him. Someone who loved him purely and simply. That person was Iris. And he'd pushed her away. He trampled on her feelings with the cruelest words possible. He deserved to suffer. Dominic made a silent vow. He would find that girl who looked at him with such devotion. He would bring her back. At that time, I was so busy in Milan that I had no time to pay attention to what was happening at headquarters back home. For the past 6 months, I'd been adjusting to my new position. I left early and came home late every day. Aside from eating and sleeping, I spent all my time working. The overseas branch had a great team atmosphere. I'd met many local colleagues and expats from other countries. I quickly adapted to the new work environment. Before, I'd invested all my energy in Dominic. I'd rarely focused on my career development. Now suddenly, I found a sense of value in my work. My life had become so much richer and more colorful. After my transfer, I never went back home. My fellow expats went back to visit family almost every chance they got. They invited me to go with them, but I always declined. I'd finally escaped. I was never going back. Besides, I'd cut off all contact with Dominic. And he hadn't shown any sign of wanting to find me either. This peaceful life was good. By now, Dominic must have just become a father. He wouldn't think of me anymore. But what I didn't expect was that before long, Dominic found me. I'd just finished a meeting when I received a message from an unknown number back home. It was just a few words. I got divorced. I froze. Was this sent to the wrong person? But soon, a second message came through. Celeste and I are completely over. That's when I realized the message was from Dominic. My mind reeled in shock. Had he actually divorced Celeste? But in this life, he'd married the woman he loved. They'd had a child together. How could they suddenly get divorced? When I didn't reply, Dominic called me directly. Iris, Celeste, and I are divorced. She got the kid. I'm never contacting her again. I know the only reason you applied for the transfer was that I married someone else. You were heartbroken. But now I've separated from her. So come back, okay? I rubbed my temples. Irritation surged through me. Dominic, I think you've misunderstood. What I feel for you is only the respect and gratitude a subordinate has for her boss. When I was younger, I mistook that strange feeling I had for you as romantic love. And it caused you a lot of trouble. Because I lacked a sense of security, I became overly dependent on my boss. So once again, I apologize. And besides, you told me yourself you wanted me to stay away from you. Now I've done exactly that. So please, don't say things like this anymore. I owe you for giving me this opportunity. I'll repay you through professional work. There was silence on the other end. Then Dominic hung up first. I thought Dominic finally understood how I felt that he wouldn't do me anymore, but I was strong. He actually flew to Italy to find me. I'd just come out of a conference room when a project manager from one of our partner companies blocked my path. Miss Morgan, why are you so cold to me? Won't you give me even one chance? Colleagues around us gathered to watch. I stopped reluctantly and faced the local Italian colleague directly. I've told you I am not considering relationships during my overseas assignment. I just want to focus on my work. He'd been pursuing me for a while now. No matter how many times I rejected him, he kept trying. He wasn't willing to let me go just like that. He insisted on inviting me to a business cocktail party he was organizing. This was the nth time he'd invited me. I was about to decline when a tall figure suddenly appeared and stepped in front of me. Sir, do you not understand the word no? She's made her feelings very clear. Why do you keep harassing her? I only saw his back, but I could tell the man in front of me was Dominic. In my past life, I'd loved him so deeply. I could pick him out of a crowd with just one glance. The two men quickly came to blows over their argument. I rushed to break them up. If they caused a scene and the police got involved, it would be a mess. I could be summoned to the station too. I'd get dragged into it. I used all my strength to pull Dominic back, shouting at him. Stop it. Dominic, can you please not cause me trouble? Wasn't I clear enough before? I've rejected you. It's obvious. So, why are you harassing me? And this is between him and me. What gives you the right to hit people? Dominic deflated like a punctured balloon. All the fight went out of him. He looked at me with wounded eyes. What gives me the right? Isn't loving you reason enough? I almost laughed at his absurd excuse. Not wanting to be a spectacle for my colleagues any longer, I quickly pulled him away. I didn't stop until we reached a quiet spot outside the office building. That's when I noticed Dominic's eyes were red-rimmed, like he'd suffered some terrible injustice. And it had only been 6 months, but he looked completely haggard. When he saw me staring at him, tears instantly spilled down his cheeks. Dominic stepped forward and grabbed my hand. No matter how hard I struggled, I couldn't shake him off. Iris, I finally found you. I'm never letting go again. I know you're still angry at me, but I promise I'll never upset you again. All these years, I thought I loved Celeste. I thought she was different from all those women who only wanted my money. But it turns out she was pretending all along. She deceived my feelings and stole my money. And worst of all, the baby she was carrying wasn't even mine. I was blind. I actually thought she loved me. She betrayed my love. I was a little surprised. I hadn't expected that Celeste didn't truly love Dominic. Thinking back to my past life, that I could only think karma. Dominic cautiously moved closer to me. He wanted to reach out and hug me, but in the end, he lowered his arms. Iris, didn't you say you'd be my secretary for life? I only just realized you're the only one who ever truly loved me. But because of our workplace relationship, I didn't dare accept your feelings. But now I figured out. I love you too. I want to be with you. I never want us to be apart. Dominic moved excitedly to embrace me. I shoved him away hard. He stared at me with red eyes, his gaze full of emotion. Iris, you know, just now, when I saw another man near you, I was terrified. Thank God you didn't accept him. I know you still love me. You've loved me for so many years. How could you just stop loving me? Letting you leave was the biggest regret of my life. This time, I'm not letting go no matter what. Iris, come back with me. I promise I'll never hurt you again. From now on, I'll always protect you. He moved forward excitedly again. I dodged him. Seeing me deliberately keep my distance, he lowered his eyes in defeat. When he finally fell silent, I spoke. Are you finished? He looked up at me expectantly, but my eyes held only coldness and indifference. I said in an extremely flat tone, Dominic, you are nothing more than my former supervisor. I have absolutely no romantic feelings for you. If you continue to harass me, I will contact the authorities. Before I turned away, I gave him one final warning. Dominic, I just want to live my life in peace. Please don't disturb me again. I heard Dominic's heartbroken sobs behind me. Iris, are you sure you won't come back with me? If I leave this time, I really won't come looking for you again. I didn't stop. I walked away with determination. I knew Dominic. With his pride, he wouldn't appear again to disrupt my peaceful life. And I would continue to invest myself in my career. In this life, I would live completely differently than I had in my last.